All right, good evening everybody. Welcome back to Everyone's an Educator, our series that is helping parents and new teachers understand how to reach your students better and help understand kind of what they're going through, and just some great strategies from a lot of different areas of growth and development for your kids. Today, we are talking about research and research skills and how that can actually begin at an elementary age. So we are back here at Denny's in Webster. We're doing this every Saturday for the next few weeks. We have a lot of different topics that we're covering, and they're all being recorded and posted on YouTube. So check out the YouTube channel if you missed some of the past ones. For it's MC2 Potential, so just Google that on YouTube. And then you'll be able to see the past videos. And if you come down here live with us in person, you get to eat. So we're feeding you. It's kids eat free, so definitely bring your kids. I'm an educator, so I love kids. They are welcome here. We'll feed them, we'll take care of them, and get you taken care of as well. So please come on down to join us here at Denny's in Webster. So today, like I said, we are talking about nurturing our young researchers. So you probably know me. I'm Monique Carlisle, founder of MC Squared Potential, and I have 5 children. So as I said, I'm an educator by trade, and I love kids. My kids are mostly grown up, have a couple left. But this is something that I actually did with them, is started their research skills early. And then throughout my education career, when I was working with first graders, are we okay?
Yep.
Okay. So when I was in the classroom, even with my kindergarten and first grade kids, I actually had them doing some basic research skills. So we're talking about what that looks like at such a young age and how it progresses through the years as your children grow. So here we go. So why do we need to teach research skills? So in today's world, it is very heavy on information, and there's just a lot going on that your kids really need to understand how to utilize it, how to find it, how to apply it, how to discuss it. Everything from politics to reading the manual at work and really knowing their systems and processes. So we're teaching them critical thinking, how to find answers. We're teaching them problem solving. If I'm not finding the answers, where else can I go? And how to communicate, because research really does very little good if you're not telling somebody about it. So at the end of all of my research projects, I had a presentation for the students to do and tell us about what they've learned. Those valuable skills, oral presentation, getting up in front of people, communicating effectively verbally, and then of course as they got older and were of age, they wrote their reports. So now we've got written communication in addition to verbal communication. So those pieces are so very important for our children to be successful adults. So we want to start them early and get them used to those skills. So what are the research skills I'm talking about? So research is really broken down into 4 pieces. For all of you expert researchers who do that as a career, I know there's a lot more that goes into this. What I'm talking about is for our kids, we can break it down to 4 very distinct components. We gather information, we take some notes, we write our report, and then we tell somebody about it. That's it. Those are the 4 pieces. And as they get older, the 4 pieces will get more elaborate, more advanced, but you can actually teach these 4 concepts starting at elementary. So the first stage of research is information gathering. We're just looking for information. So this can come from text, such as books, magazines, articles. It can come from audio. They might listen to something, listen to a newscast, watch a video on something, and gather information that way. Or videos. You pull up a Bill Nye the Science Guy, that's what I grew up on, and have them watch it and gather information that way. Or Wildcrats, if they're researching an animal, you can Google and YouTube all of those old episodes, and they can actually gather good information from some of those child-friendly programs. Regardless of where they're getting their information, the point is that they're getting it. They're gathering good facts from these different places. What this does is they're going to learn that curiosity is a good thing, that it's good to ask questions, it's good to find new information. It instills that lifelong learning skill and concept and idea that I can keep seeking and learning and developing new skills and understandings about everything. So we definitely want to encourage that curiosity. The second stage of research is note-taking. Now, in the early elementary, kindergartner, if they're writing single words or they're able to copy, they can actually start note-taking. First graders, single words, what are you researching? A parrot. Who are you studying? The, Rosa Parks or whoever they're looking at. Very short single words that really talks about what they're doing. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But that's note-taking. All they're doing is learning the information and writing it down. Note-taking is written. They need to be able to write down or copy vocabulary and words that represent what they're learning, what the information they've gathered. As they get older, they might start with short phrases, but the whole point is that their written work answers questions. So all good research starts with questions. Who are you studying? When were they?
Oh, you changed.
Hi.
They're just checking on you though.
Oh, we're good. So this is our wonderful waitress. She's not on video. She's off screen right now. But she takes really good care of us, brings us hot coffee and good food. So if you come down live and you're here, she'll take care of you too. So we are
And from 4 to 10, kids eat free.
Yes, 4 to 10. Kids eat free, and we feed them. So you don't even have to pay for the free meal. We pay for the free meal. All right, so we were talking about answering questions. All good research starts with these questions. So who are you researching? What impact did they have? When did they have this impact? Who did they influence? All of those questions, what exactly did they invent, research, create, start, influence? All of those questions get answered in research, in the note-taking process. So then you're going to take all of those short answers, all of those single words, and you're going to write a report. Now we'll talk about what it looks like at the early elementary, the first grade level, but you can imagine in the middle school and high school, you've got paragraph reports. You've got, some meaty work that really gives good information. It takes all of the phrases, all of the information they've gathered, all of the notes, and it turns it into a properly communicated document. Now that document could be a picture with labels, especially at the early grades, all the way through a formal presentation, the classic poster board for science experiments, dioramas, things like that, summary reports where they type it up and double spaced and, with the half-inch margin or whatever the expectations are. So you can have a lot of different ways, but they're basically taking all that they've learned and they're turning it into a single presentation. All of my research projects had a presentation component. So that's this part where they're creating something to represent what they have found. And then of course my favorite part was the presentation. So this is where the verbal communication skills come in. They stand up in front of their classmates or their family and they talk about their presentation, their whatever they've created, the diorama, the poster board. I've had students create paper mache. I think it was a duck. I think she created a paper mache duck and we got yellow feathers and she stuck them in. And then she talked about the different components of a duck, the webbed feet that she created and the beak and the feathers and their functions and things like that. So she presented her information using the visual aid. So that's really, really important that you incorporate the presentation skills. You're building confidence, you're building verbal articulation, you're building the ability to take feedback. So at the younger age, we promote a lot of positive feedback. We really don't encourage our young kids to give negative or constructive feedback because they're not ready for that. But in the older grades, you can actually teach your middle school and high school kids how to give constructive feedback. Maybe next time consider this, or what about this part of the impact that they had, or how did they influence this, you didn't address that. Giving that constructive feedback just helps them. But back to the presentation skills. It's all about getting up in front of people and talking about what you learned. So those are the 4 components of research. So now let's look at each of the ages and how they go through each of these skills. So at the preschool age, they're really not doing research. They are simply learning that books hold knowledge. So that's really, really important, and why they say to read with your kids a lot every night if you can, because you're just teaching them basic literacy, which is the foundation for research. Then you have early elementary, which is your basic research skills through your research projects, and then all the way to independent research, where they're not getting a lot of hand-holding in adolescence, they're finding their own information. But let's dig into each of these. So we'll start with preschool. So these are your really little ones. Again, books hold knowledge. So what you're doing with your kids to prepare them for research is reading, pointing out the pictures, asking them questions. What do you see here? Who is that? What is that? Those kinds of very simple, straightforward questions at this age, so that when they get to the next age level and they're doing actual research, they're familiar with looking at a text and pulling information from that. All right, elementary. So this is your basic research skills. Again, you want to continue reading together. You're still building that foundation of literacy. And you want to add a few more questions. You know, where do you see this? Where else do we see this? What are we reading about? How does these 2 pieces interact? Those are the kinds of questions you're asking from them. Especially if you're reading something that's got a lot of different, animal books are a great example. They have a lot of different animals in there. Where can we find more information about the panda? Now you're bringing them to the table of contents or the index, or even just flipping through the pages to find the pictures of the panda. You're teaching them that the information is in the book and you just got to look for it. So you're building that very basic skill of looking for information. It's something we as adults take for granted. So you want to make sure you give that opportunity to your kids. So at this age, they are collecting information and writing only 1 to 2 words. They're really not doing a lot of sentence writing at this early stage. This is 1st grade and 2nd grade. So they're written, their ability to write is just developing. They're just learning to spell. They're just learning how to hold a pencil and write inside the lines and inside the margins. So we reduce that expectation of full sentences, and we have them just write single words, especially for their note taking. Now, of course, every kid's different. So if your student is advanced and can write full sentences, encourage them to. There's nothing wrong with that. But most students, they will really succeed if you just have them write 1 word. What animal are you researching? Dog. They just write the word dog. They're going to represent their topic through a drawing, maybe a diagram. So if we're doing pet research and they're researching a dog, they might have labels and lines down there. Draw a picture of their dog, maybe their pet at home, and then they label the ear and the claws and the tail, and then, you know, the snout and the nose and the eyes, and they label all these pieces, and then they can talk about it, and they can say, I learned that my dog is a Great Dane, and it is 87 pounds, and that's considered small. And they can talk about all the things they learned about the dog that's in the picture, and how he's a carnivore and uses the sharp teeth in his mouth. And it's very simple language, because these are 1st and 2nd graders, but they're talking about their image when they're presenting it. So these are very simple research projects at this level. But again, you're following the same 4 steps of gathering information, writing it down, putting it in a nice, neat presentation, and then telling somebody about it. So at the next level, so now we're looking at about 3rd grade, 4th grade, maybe a little bit of 5th grade. They are doing more formal research projects. There's more questions to answer, more things to look into as far as events that were impacted by maybe an inventor or a president or a political figure. They're doing a lot of event research, like what was the impact of, my mind goes blank, Rosa Parks sitting on the bus stop. So now they're researching that event and that person and that time of history and those kinds of things. Or the Revolutionary War or George Washington. So they're doing a lot of media research, but again, it goes back to the same 4 pieces: reading books and magazines and articles, watching videos, collecting the information, creating a presentation. Maybe this time it's a mural, so it's got all of the different pieces that they've researched. Or it's a model. Maybe they write a poem, or they make a diorama. There's a lot of different things. It's a little more elaborate. And then they're doing sentences. I'm jumping into the next slide, my apologies. So what you can do to support your kids at this level is to discuss those multiple sources and go to your local library and teach them how to use the library catalog, the online catalog, to find more books. Teach them how to identify a section of the library that's got a lot of books on a similar topic. That's all the Dewey Decimal System, and if you need help with that, I know it's a little outdated, but I can teach you how to navigate a library if you're not sure. It's been a while. And then, of course, discuss their projects as they're doing the research. This will prepare them for the presentation. So ask those questions and have them talk about it before their formal presentation. So I jumped into a little bit of this already. Their questions get a little more intense. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Why did this happen? How did it impact other people? Where did this happen? Those kinds of questions. This is where we also expect full sentences. So they might take notes with short phrases, that's appropriate, but their formal written report needs to have full sentences. It doesn't need to be a 5-paragraph paper, but it should say, Rosa Parks, sat on a bus and started a very important movement in civil rights history, something like that. So it needs to be a full sentence of who they're doing and what the impact is and what their research project is all about. So as we mentioned, the representations get a little more elaborate, and their presentations should also be more elaborate. So if you look at elementary, you're really doing 1 to 2 minutes, if that. They just stand up there, they give a few short sentences, and then they're finished. At this level, you really want to encourage those 3 to 4 minutes where they're really getting into describing what they've learned. And I do encourage my kids to eventually get off reading the report. We don't want them to just read the paragraphs that they've written. We want them to tell us what they've really learned in a nice, clean, succinct way. So then we get to adolescence, and this is where they're doing a lot more independent research. And so what you can do is help your students really understand source verification and credibility. For example, Wikipedia, great launching point. We can start there to kind of figure out what we need to research further, but you really can't cite it. And we need to talk about why. Why is that really not a credible source? And then moving from there. Nat Geo is a great credible source. And so when we did animal research in elementary and middle school, I had them go to Nat Geo and then they would research that. A great helpful hint, if your students are doing online research, have them type in their question or their person or their event, and then type the words "for kids." That's it, 2 words. For kids, F-O-R, kids. And when you hit enter, you will come up with sites that are intended for children's research. You'll find those sites are written at a lower level, so they don't sound like a Harvard researcher wrote it. It'll actually be written on that 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade level so they can absorb the information and digest it more easily and more independently. So there's a helpful hint, little tip for you. You also want to talk about online safety. And that's just a general thing. We don't need to sign up to get free information. So you need to talk to them about if they get to a site that's saying, I'll send you this article about Rosa Parks if you give me your email. We're not going to do that. We have to have online safety, so have that conversation with them. And then of course discussing academic honesty and integrity. With the uprising of ChatGPT, it's a great resource, and I can talk to you about how to incorporate that with your kids' research, but we want to definitely not plagiarize. We don't copy paste ChatGPT. It does not write your report for you. It is a launching point. It is a research assistant. So when you use it properly, it can have great, wonderful impacts, but we can't have it just write for you. That's not academically honest. So having those conversations with your adolescents are really, really important. So as they're doing their research, they are searching for information. Before adolescence, in that early elementary, late elementary, you're probably providing a lot of resources. You're finding the websites, you're finding the magazines, you're finding the articles, you're finding the books, or you're pointing them in the right direction and saying, well, let's look at this place in the library, or let's go ask this person for more information. You're doing a lot of guidance. At adolescence, we kind of pull back that support and we encourage them to seek that information on their own. So that might look like, where can you find more information? Who should we go ask? So now you're putting the ownership on the student. If your students in this age range are just beginning research, you did not really encourage that at the elementary and middle school, that's okay. We want to start them with giving that guidance. Okay, so we're not just going to say, oh, you're 12, so go do it by yourself. That's not fair to them. It will only cause them to shut down. So if they have not been practicing research skills, you definitely have to guide them and lead them to that independence. But if you have been doing research and all of these things, then at this point, they should have a lot of those skills already built in and just need to be guided with some leading questions. Let's go to the library. Who can we ask in the library? What section of the library has this information? And really guiding them that way. At this point, they're also doing multiple sources and possibly some citations. Earlier, one book might have all the information they're really looking for. At this level, they should have 2 to 3 books and articles, maybe even more, that provide all of the pieces. The questions get more meaty, they get more in depth, and so they definitely need to be looking for deeper information in multiple places. And then of course you've got formal reports. This is where the 5-paragraph, 2-3 page reports come in, and that's what you would expect at this level. And then of course those formal presentations where everything's typed or written neatly, and it's organized on a poster board or other presentation. They can create a PowerPoint, things like that. I've had some students create books, so they actually have a different page for each concept that they're trying to express to us. And so their presentations get more elaborate too. So some general strategies for you at all the levels is to create a learning environment in your home where if you don't have the information, you seek it out. You're a role model for research. And our phones are a great resource. You know, I don't know the answer to that question, but we can find it, and then use Google. Show them what it looks like to not know, and then how to find that information, where to start, and then just talk through that skill. And make sure that that curiosity is constantly encouraged. So 4-year-olds like the word why. And I know how irritating that can get. However, we want to encourage as much of that questioning as we can tolerate, so that they keep that curiosity and never feel punished for wondering why this happens, or what's going to happen if I do this. And so really encouraging that curiosity and just having an environment that encourages them to learn, and encourages them to do that. And then of course supporting school assignments. If your kids are bringing home a research project, help them with it as much as you can, of course. Depending on their age level. Let's go to the library together. What are you researching? What do you know as a parent about that topic that you can talk with them about? Have them take some notes and then do some fact checking. Those are all great ways to support their school assignments. All right, so a little bit more on each of those. Encourage reading. So you want to have a literacy-rich home. The library is free. It is free to get books. It is free to check out videos. It is free to get a library card. You usually get to keep your books for 2 to 4 weeks, and you can renew them. So, and there are local libraries all over, and libraries need us. They need the community to continue using them, or they're going to go away. So that's just a fact of life. When you don't use a business, it goes away. So please go use your local libraries. Use them for the resource that they are.
Many of them loan art and DVDs too, so you can check out movies.
Yep. So you can always find some really great stuff. So definitely encourage reading.
And the reference desk is a great resource too.
Absolutely.
They're paid to help you.
Yes. So be that research role model. Be curious yourself. Seek out the information as we talked about. And do family research projects. Like, just decide, oh my gosh, we're going to New Braunfels this summer. Let's research the Sabine River and go and find out and draw a map of it and all the cities it goes through and what kind of fish live in it and all of that fun stuff. Do it as a family research project. I could probably think of a zillion other examples, but I think you understand. So encourage that you're all coming together to do a family research project. My favorite thing when I was in the classroom, because our classroom was kind of like a little family, a little community, when we were on our different themes, so for example, animal research, we created a mural of everybody's animals. So as they did their research and finished it, they got to go and draw their animal. And so we had this huge mural of all the different animals that they had researched. And then we did the same thing for planets. We did the same thing for plants, for people, for civilizations. Whatever we were researching, we created this mural so everybody contributed, and then we got to showcase all of that great work. And then, of course, we talked about school assignments, helping to guide the research process and encouraging ownership, asking your kids, what are you learning, and tell me more, and where can we find that? So really helping them and guiding them and encouraging them to learn the information that they're seeking out. And then have that growth mindset. Research is a skill. So that means they're going to start from zero and move their way up. So as long as they're making progress, let's keep looking. Oh, this book didn't have the information. Let's try another one. Oh, it looks like we've run into a problem tonight. Let's pick it up in the morning. Encouraging that growth mindset so they don't shut down when they're not getting the answers. That's really important in that late elementary stage towards adolescence, where they're doing a lot more independent work. We don't want them to get frustrated because they just can't find this answer. Help them find the answer. Encourage them to just keep trying and provide those resources. So to recap, research skills are incredibly important for our academic and our professional career. Our children need to practice these skills to be successful in life. And so we want to start early. We want to be patient with the process and provide as much guidance as they need to build to that independence. This will all foster a lifelong love of learning and curiosity and information gathering, where they're just going to continue seeking out ways to build their own personal knowledge, their own personal interests, and develop new passions as they come across them. So every week we have a Q&A session, so you are welcome to share your own stories of how you do research with your kids and ask your own questions about how to help this process along in your family. So I would love for you to come down and be able to just discuss these with us in person. You can also reach out to me via Messenger, since we're on Facebook, or through the website, or give me a call. There's lots of different ways to get a hold of me. I'm here to support you.
Next week?
Next week, we are back here in Webster, and we are doing managing multiple grade levels. So, do you have, looks like I didn't update this slide, so I apologize. Next week is managing multiple grade levels, and we will discuss how to navigate having multiple kids in the household. You've got 2-year-olds, you've got 10-year-olds, you've got 17-year-olds. Everybody's got stuff going on. They get on each other's nerves. You got different socio-emotional levels. You got different homework and academic expectations, and chores still have to be done. It's a lot to manage. We're going to talk about that and how to help you guys out in your family. I raised 5. They are all 2 years apart, except the middle 2, which is 4 years apart. So I've had a range of children's ages in my household for a very long time. Happy to share how I survived. I hope to see you next week here at Denny's in Webster. If not, catch us online, and we will see you later. Thank you, guys.